And we're live. Very excited to join all of you or have you all joining me. I did tell you that we're going to be having a special guest, a surprise guest on tonight's podcast. And I've actually put in a number of polls asking, who do we think is going to be the special mystery guest of tonight's show? And I was actually pretty impressed with the answers that I got. I got a lot of different answers between Instagram, private messages, and Facebook. But one person, I'm not sure how this person knew. I don't speak to this person, but one person was able to get the answer correctly. And I would like to congratulate this person for the correct answer. I'm hearing that there's no sound. Ilusha, are you sure there's no sound? Is anybody else having that issue? Can you hear me? Okay, let me know if you're able to hear me. Zalman says he can hear me. Okay, Zalman, you hear me? There's no issues with the sound? Okay, perfect. So my husband is saying there's no issues with the sound, so we're good to go. The question was, who is the guest of tonight's live show? And actually, I got a lot of answers that said, your brother. Not correct. My brother and I, we have had multiple shows together. If you want to see them streaming, you can go to my YouTube page and you can see my brother's show with me. My sister, not correct. My sister probably will never be able to go live with me because she does not go on social media publicly. So I don't think I will ever be able to have my sister join me on Facebook. My husband, also not correct. Maybe one day my husband is going to say, fine, let's make it happen, and agree to come on to this Facebook Live, and we can have a very interesting, entertaining show actually. But tonight's guest is not my husband. Finally, they said, your mother, голос прерывает, не слышно. Okay, let me see if I can fix the audio. Give me one, me better this way. Can you hear me now? Okay, so hopefully we're not going to have any glitches because tonight's guest is going to be very new at this. First time this particular individual is going on a Facebook episode. And without further ado, without further time, let me welcome to you the guest of tonight's Facebook Live edition. None other than my beloved son, Binyamin Dechkanov. Binyamin, come on in. Welcome to this Facebook Live. I know that Binyamin is not an expert on doing Facebook Lives. This is his very, very first episode ever. And the idea actually came about very recently when I was seeing the situation that was going on in Israel. And I thought to myself, who better be my guest than a person who spent the entire year last year in the Holy Land itself, in the land of Israel. A boy who made me so nervous and so afraid that when October 7th happened, I had sleepless nights. And I remember posting a picture and making a video on Facebook. And the amount of likes this picture got when I brought him home from Israel, I have never ever gotten as many likes on a post as the picture that I shared that my son was finally back home. But it didn't last too long, because shortly after coming home, Binyamin decided it was time to go back to the Holy Land. And he continued his studies abroad. He finished the year and thankfully made it home safely back to New York. And as I saw a transformation that took place with my son throughout the year, I realized there is so much growth that happened that I thought to myself, there are certain questions that I never actually discussed with him, but it would be very interesting if I have this discussion on air, because I think we can all learn something from our children, especially when our children are becoming older and there's so much evolvement happening. We are able to really learn and see what a transformation happens right before our very eyes. So Binyamin, thank you for agreeing to come on to this episode with me. It was definitely unexpected and many people did not think it was going to be you tonight. But I want to open tonight's discussion with, first of all, having you introduce yourself. Tell us about, how old are you, Binyamin?
So first off, I would like to say thank you, Mom, for giving me this opportunity. The introduction was very good, and I want to say congratulations to the person who was able to figure out that it was me. I actually did not expect anybody to know it was me, but congratulations. I'm 18 years old, and I just finished a 1 year in yeshiva called Mikdash Melech, and I feel like, Eretz Yisrael I feel like it changed me as a person, Eretz Yisrael, the yeshiva Mikdash Melech, it was a great yeshiva, and I think my parents are giving me the opportunity to, even though they were nervous and, there was a time in October where they didn't want to send me back, but the fact that they were able to say, you know what, it's for my son's, best interest, I thank my parents greatly for giving me the opportunity to go back.
Binyamin, answer me this question. When you were in Israel, and here we are in America, getting the news after Simchat Torah, that there is a war, there is an unexpected situation that took place in Israel that nobody was expecting. Back here in the States, people were very, very nervous and very afraid. I called you to make sure that you were okay. And then I asked you to come home. And you didn't want to come home. You actually wanted to continue staying in Israel. And you said to me, Mom, we're okay. Don't worry. We're fine here. I want to ask you, what gave you the strength and the ability? What allowed you not to have fear take over you and still think to yourself, this land of Israel, despite what is happening around me, despite the craziness and the uncertainty, and now you can't even go out of school because you were supposed to be staying indoors because nobody knew what was going on. Despite all that, you chose to remain in Israel. What was going through your head and how were you not afraid?
So originally the day was that I woke up, it was there Simchat Torah. I hear alarms outside. I hear an alarm. So I think it's one of my friends' alarm to wake him up to go to Shacharit. Fine, alarm goes, I walk downstairs to the basement, start my regular day at Shacharit, 8 a.m. 8:45 comes, you hear an alarm outside. Now, as an American, I never heard an alarm like this. But really the alarm was as an alert that there are rockets outside. So, I always had a fear going to Israel that, oh my God, rockets, war. And I never in a million years would ever think that 1 second, I'm in the middle of a war. So, truth was that I was scared not for myself, but my parents. Why? Because in Israel there's only 1 day. But in America there's 2 days.
Of the holiday.
Yeah, so I'm like, after Simchat Torah, how am I going to contact my parents, let them know what's going on? They're going to be scared. I have no way of contacting them because they have 2 days. Do they know what's going on? There's a war. So, fine. So I was there. I was davening. The rabbis are there. The rabbis can't be scared, because the rabbi is scared. Then how are we supposed to react? So the rabbis gave us, a lot of chizuk. It's okay. It's good. Don't worry about it. It's just an alert. It's everything's good. Fine. Simchat Torah ended in Israel. I checked on my phone, And I see, basically, you guys know the massacre that happened on October 7th. So, fine. The next day comes, I finally call my parents. Mom, Dad, everything's okay. But I'm a little bit nervous, because I see social media saying, oh, there's no food, there's this nation is going to get involved. It's going to escalate to a point where, how am I going to get back home? This airline's closing. What am I going to do? So the truth was, in the beginning, I was scared, and I was the one to push my parents the first couple of days that I want to go back home. But after 2-3 days in being in the war, I realized, 1 second, I'm in Yerushalayim, nothing's happening over here. Everything's only happening in Tel Aviv and every other place besides Yerushalayim. So what is it to be scared of? Long story short, that week, I went home. Okay, I was upset, but I knew that it was Hashem's best intention. Okay, when I came back home, and my parents, I went to different yeshiva for a month, fine. But then I realized, 1 second, a month went by and nothing was going on. So 1 second. So then I spoke to my rebbeim over there and they told me, listen, the same way a person goes into a taxi, he knows who the driver is, he puts his full belief into that taxi driver. Okay? The same way a person goes into a plane, he puts his full also belief into the pilot. The same way a person goes into a ship, he puts the same belief in the person that's sailing. Meaning that, right, what do we learn from this small little mashal? That what? The same way we living in life, Hashem is the one that's going to guide us, and we're not going to ask any questions. Why? Because we know that whatever Hashem is doing is for our best intention. If I'm worried that 1 second, oh my God, I'm gonna get hurt. But in my mind, I'm like, 1 second, Hashem's our Father. Why should I be scared? Hashem is our Father. He doesn't want to see me get hurt. He doesn't want to see you get hurt. He doesn't want to see his kids get hurt. So why should I be scared? Correct?
That's very brave of you. So you decided to go back.
Yeah, I put my full belief in Emunah and Hashem.
What was something that you could say changed you when you were in Israel and you were there the entire year? I remember myself, the way you left and the way you came back was a different type of Benny. Look at Benny right now. Man, grown, looks like he's, already a mature individual. That's not the Benny that was going to Israel. So definitely something changes a person when they travel and they have this independent lifestyle. They really grow. They grow to become this mature adult. What can you say happened when you went to Israel? What did you notice changing about yourself as an individual?
In what terms, physically or mentally?
Both.
So I felt like, especially that 1 year, when I realized there was a war, I realized that life is too short for us to, to stay the same way we are. That eventually you're going to have to grow up and change as a person, right? I felt like that I was independent, and I felt that by me being independent and not relying so much on my community and my family, that helped me open my mind more and made me more open-minded. Like, 1 second, there's more to life than I thought. I thought life is easy, but no, when you're in not even Israel, Israel made me realize that when you're in a different country, that it's not the same life when you're in America, where your parents are there supporting you, feeding you easy, same schedule, going to school. When I was in Israel, I had my own schedule, I had my own people I met, I basically did everything on my own. And the key is the fact that I was independent. That independence changed me as a person. And I think that that if a person wants to change, they have to go out of their comfort zone in order for them to change.
When you went outside in the streets of Israel, what was the vibe like?
Vibe meaning what?
Well, we're in the middle of a war zone.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it seems like, at least. And you're going outside. Were you afraid to be by the bus stops? Were you afraid to change and go from one location to the next, to travel, to go to the, Western Wall? What was the vibe? Did you have any sort of fear that, oh my God, maybe I shouldn't be outside right now? Or do you feel like you felt extremely protected? You had nothing to worry about? How were you feeling when you were there?
Initially, when I came back for the war, right when I came back home from America, then I came back from the war again. Initially, in the beginning, the first 2-3 weeks, I still had a little bit of fear inside of me. But then I realized 2-3 weeks into it, I said, what's there to be scared about? Guys, people are going out, you see people on the street, everybody's living a perfectly fun life. So what's there to be worried about? Like I said again, I put my full belief in Hashem that, don't worry, Hashem is going to protect me no matter what happens. And when I had that mindset, Hashem is going to protect me, what is it to be scared about? There's absolutely nothing to be scared about.
I think I think all of us, Benny, can walk away with a very important message. And the message is, when we are instilling in ourselves the belief that Hashem li velo ira, Hashem is constantly with me, and I have absolutely nothing to fear. It doesn't matter where we are located, what part of the world we are in, because who is to say that we're safe here right now?
100%.
There is no safety net. There's no guarantee. Anything can happen anywhere. So I think, Binyamin, you're giving us a very important takeaway message. You're telling us all something very, very powerful. That when you're walking with the thought process of, I have God with me, Hashem is here, and no matter where I go, I'm protected simply because I believe in that, what am I supposed to be afraid of? And I'm so grateful to you for bringing such an amazing, amazing lesson to tonight's podcast. Thank you, Binyamin. Now, by the way, thank you, Mom. Grandma's watching. She said she loves you very much. Benny Binyamin did say that if there are any questions, this is his first time on Facebook. And like I said, I'm very happy that he agreed. It's definitely something different. I feel very proud to have him join us tonight. But if there are any questions for him, he wants to try to answer it. So if there's anything you want to ask him, please feel free. Now, Binyamin, another question. Let's take a different turn. We're going to move away from Israel right now. And I want to ask you a question that is as follows. Now, we did not plan this, okay? I have a few questions here. So none of this is scripted. Benny does not even know what questions I'm going to be asking him. So please be patient. Sometimes he will have to think about certain answers. If a teenager is watching, Benny, and he sees you, a young boy, on Facebook, and he may want to watch tonight's episode. And he, let's say, is a 10th grader. And he's struggling. He's struggling with his self-image. He's struggling with school. He doesn't feel like he has any capabilities. He just doesn't feel like he belongs. And as a teenager who recently graduated high school, and you're already going to the next stage of life, what can you tell that teenager who is struggling, who's having trouble making new friends, who doesn't really have a good self-image? What advice would you give that teenager who is watching you?
So, I would recommend the kid to first of all, the kid, he should be himself. He shouldn't change for anybody else. If he's realized that, people don't like me for who I am, unless it's something negative, continue being who you are. Now, if a person wants to be able to work on his self-esteem, I feel like me personally, what I do, again, I'm not no licensed therapist. I'm just a regular boy has my own 2 cents. I would advise this boy individual or whoever it is, understand what you're good at, and how do I say it? Understand what you're good at. For example, if you're good at art, compliment yourself. Even if nobody's there, if you know yourself that, 1 second, I'm good at this and that should bring you happiness in your life. If I know that I'm good at photography, you know what? I'm gonna go outside, I'm gonna take a nice picture and take pride in what you did. If I'm good at speaking, I'm gonna go on my Shabbat table and say a speech in front of my parents, and I'm gonna say, you know what? I worked hard. I feel good about it. Even if nobody is there, as long as you know your work, you feel good about yourself, everything else is just a side thing. As long as you yourself are happy with what your goals are, what you have accomplished, things that you have accomplished. For example, once I accomplished high school, how much more, right? What should I be happy about? I accomplished high school. I feel like, I had 4 tough years, but I made it. For the rest of my life, that's something for me to feel good about myself.
That's right.
So if a kid or a person, even an adult that's watching this, and you are struggling with self-esteem, you should say, 1 second, you should see the things that you accomplished, the things that you're good at, and you should only have positivity and say, yes, I'm good at this, and you should continue doing it and make yourself feel happy about yourself.
Amazing advice. Now I have another question for you. What's the best advice that you yourself received from a parent, a teacher, or a mentor?
Good question. Good advice, correct?
Yes, from a teacher, a parent, a grandparent, any piece of advice that you yourself received that's working for you that you want to share.
So there's a nice quote that I stick by till today. It's actually from my Menahel, my Rosh Yeshiva, Moshe Aronoff from my high school. He says, a person that has consistency in his life, that creates stability, correct? If a person's consistent in something, correct? If a person's consistent in the gym, a person's consistent in learning, a person's consistent in playing an instrument, he's gonna be stability. He's gonna have stability in his life, right? He's gonna be good at it. Once a person has stability in something, he's gonna have an identity. And once he has an identity, nobody can stop him. Why? Because he knows who he is.
Wow.
That's a quote that I keep till today.
That's very powerful. Very, very important lesson. Great. Say that quote one more time.
Consistency leads in stability, which in turn creates an identity.
Consistency leads to stability,
Which in turn stability creates an identity. Once a person's stable with something, he has an identity and he knows who he is.
So I actually never heard of that. That's very, very powerful and very nice. Another question, Benny. What is the most important quality that you look for in a friend?
Ooh.
This is a tough one. I can't even really answer this question, but you're a young man. I'm curious to see what you look for in a friend.
Is it any, like, when you say friend, is it any random guy in the street, or what do you call a friend?
Yeah,
Like
so
best
what do
friend
you,
or
right, so what would you think is a friend? That's your interpretation. This question is for you.
So in Israel, when I was in yeshiva with 100 different boys my age, this was something that I kept. I look for a person that's honest, that's loyal. Meaning what? If a person is not honest to himself, how is he going to be honest with me? Correct? I want a friend who is honest, right? How do I know if tomorrow this person is going to leave me? Correct? Even if the person has anger issues, if a person lies, okay, not lies. If a person has anger issues, jealousy issues, fine, that's something that affects him. If a person is not honest, it's not just going to affect him, it's going to affect everybody else around him. So now I look for a friend, me personally, I look for somebody that's honest, right? If I have a friend who's honest, even if a friend says there's something bad about me, or he's come straight to my face saying, Benny, I don't like that, let's say you snore at night. Fine, it might hurt me, but in the end of the day, it's constructive criticism, and he's only doing it, for the best interest of me. So I look for a person who's honest. Not honest just with me, but honest to himself. And doesn't say, oh, I'm good at everything, but no, I have this to work on, That's, for me, I consider that's called a real friend.
That's a good answer. Now, Benny, since this is the first time you're doing this, and you actually, what I felt very happy about when I told you that I want to go live with you, you did not say no. And that was something very special for me, because most children probably would feel extremely shy and embarrassed and feel like, oh no, I'm not going on social media. But I applaud you for being brave, for coming on air. I'm sure somebody watching may be inspired to go and learn in Israel. I'm sure somebody watching may be inspired to also come out of the box. Maybe somebody was looking forward to doing something and they have a fear and they feel like, what if people judge me? What if somebody's going to talk about me? And then they see a little, I shouldn't say little, to me you're little, you're my child. And they see a young man like you go on air, which is not easy to do. Maybe you're going to inspire somebody who's watching to say, if he can do it, so can I. Now I want to change it around, Binyamin, and ask and give you the ability to ask me a question on air. This is not planned, but I think it would be a different touch, because I would love to know anything that you can ask me that we can talk about right now.
Question that we could ask. What would be one thing that you would do to improve the community?
Oh, that's a very strong one. Okay, what is one thing I would do to improve the community? So, I actually am learning now and throughout the last few years of my life And this is something that when I was your age, I didn't.
Sorry for cutting you, but what I mean, I have to emphasize for the teenagers.
Oh, teenagers.
For the teenagers.
Okay,
yes,
so it's a two-part question.
Yeah,
so I'm
yeah.
going to go with the first part, and then I'm going to go to the second part. So the first part of the question, you said for the community. So I think it's important to answer it, so I'm going to answer it because I want to share my thoughts with you. When I was your age, Binyamin, I actually thought, growing up, that we can change people. We really can change people. And I believed it. And I thought that we as individuals have the power and ability to change people. The older I get, the more I realize we cannot change anybody. Unfortunately, we can be a role model for people. We can help share ideas with people. We can share stories and books with people, but we cannot change people. The only people we can change in the world is ourselves. We can change the way we respond to a situation. We respond to people. So about how can we change the community? We really can't. We can just be a better version of ourselves and do as much good as possible. Maybe through doing good, somebody will be inspired through that good deed, and somebody is going to want to emulate you and become like you, and slowly, you being a role model can help people want to become like that, not because you're changing them, but because they want to change themselves. Now, the second part of your question was?
Basically to help the community in terms of the teenagers, to help better improve,
Oh, teenagers.
Yeah, in the sense of the teenagers, yeah.
So the teenagers, I'll tell you one thing. I'm not jealous of your generation. There's a big difference in the generation that I was growing up. And, oh, look, Irina Kandov, her Binyamin came home today also from Israel. So she's saying hi to you.
How you doing?
So there's a big difference between my growing up as a teenager and you growing up as a teenager. When I was growing up as a teenager, we were so excited to have a little bedroom and call it our bedroom. Even if we shared it with somebody in a tiny little apartment, we were thrilled with that. It was like a blessing for us. If I owned a bicycle or rollerblades, I considered myself the happiest person ever. And when I got my first computer, Benny, oh my God, I think I was the only one around my friends who actually owned a computer. It was really something to celebrate. So we took nothing small for granted. Now, with the teenagers that are growing up in, your generation, unfortunately, what's happening is teenagers already from your age, the number one thing on their mind is fill in the blank. What do you think is the number one thing from teenagers that are growing up in your generation? You answered.
Money.
Thank you. How to make money. And we're not just talking about just money. It's how to be making a lot of money. How to buy the big mansion and to drive the most amazing rich car. It's great. Ambitions, dreams, something to strive for. Those are all amazing. But if I was growing up as a teenager and at a young age, I haven't even grown up completely and I'm already thinking such big dreams. Everything leading up to that big dream seems like it's not even an accomplishment. Because my dream is so big that the small things don't matter because I have a very big dream to fulfill. Does that make sense? But when we don't have a big dream to fulfill, and when we're living life, and for us, buying a house or a co-op is something big, when we're living in an apartment and we advance into a co-op, that milestone becomes, wow, we have to celebrate it. But when we're having this goal of we have to buy an 80 by 100 property that's huge with a big pool in the back And then we end up buying a small 3-bedroom house. It's almost like, what did I accomplish? I didn't accomplish anything. So I actually feel so bad for the young generation that's growing up right now, because it's almost like, so at what point in your life do you pat yourself in the back and say, I made it? Where? It's hard to be a teenager because there is way too much peer pressure and way too much accessibility and so much of the wrong installation in what thought process they have, that I really truly feel that unless teenagers as a whole, if they don't change that mindset, they're going to be unhappy because they're not going to have that ability to really say, I did it, for the small accomplishments. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that was a good question.
So how would you advise the teenagers to work on this want and desire of money?
So the first thing I would say,
because in all honesty, I also had that desire to want to make money, to live a comfortable life, to have financial freedom, to help my family. But it's it's an obstacle and it's a challenge for me to overcome. So do you have any advice for me as a parent and for other people who are also watching to overcome that desire, at least to work on that desire?
So what I would say, now I'm not an expert, but my 2 cents on this. First of all, I'm very, very into the concept of really surround yourselves by those that you want to become like.
True.
I would choose friends, my friend circle, to be such where I don't have that pressure, right? Even in the career that I'm in right now, there are people in my career that also are very goal-oriented. They want to work 2-3 jobs and they want to buy 500 properties and they want to go on vacation 10 times a year. That's not a bad idea. That's great. I see nothing wrong with that. But when I choose who I have in my circle of friends, if I cannot emulate that lifestyle because my path may be different, I'm observant or have children or have a different lifestyle, if I'm going to be going towards those type of friends in my life, I'm always going to be disappointed because it's going to be somebody I cannot compete with. So I choose my surroundings to be those that have the same mindset as myself, which is I'm happy with a small house. I would like to have a bigger house, but I'm happy with my small house. I'm happy if I get to go somewhere local. I'm happy if I have a beautiful table that's set and I'm able to feed my kids. So we have to surround ourselves with people that have the same ambitions as us. So the first advice I would give, just like you asked, choose your circle of friends. As much as it's good to be surrounded by very popular people, who are all out there and they're really advancing and it looks like they're successful, great. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to follow that path. In life, I would tell the teenagers who are watching, strive to become a leader, not a follower. Because when you strive to become a leader, it is going to be you who's going to be leading your own path. And it is going to be you who's going to be attracting others to follow in the path that you create. When you become a follower, you are very much at risk for going in the wrong path. So the first thing is choose your friends. The second thing is understand the purpose, and I know you're young, but it's for any teenager, as you're growing, we really have to understand the purpose of what we are here for, right? All of us. Why are we here? What's the purpose of this? Our purpose in the world is not just to make money. And then what? We made the money. And then what? Is money really happiness? Our purpose in this world is to get married? Maybe, maybe not. Why are we wanting to get married? Are we getting married because we don't like our parents, we don't like our siblings, and we just want to escape? Are we getting married because everybody else is getting married, so it must be that we also have to get married? Anything we do needs to have a why. Why do you want to do that? If you're getting married because you want to create a family, you want to have a partner, you want to be challenged by that partner, you want to have children. If you want to have those goals in mind, you get married. But if you're getting married because your parents, you want freedom, they're not giving it to you, your siblings, they're so annoying, all my friends got married, so it must be that I also have to get married, I have nobody to go out with anymore. When you're doing things for the wrong reason, you are bound to have a failing result. So I think that you posed an amazing question. And I think that to the teenagers who are watching, it's interesting because recently I had a singles event, but it was more geared towards like the ones who are looking to get married. And we had a really good outcome. And I was able to meet many different teenagers and single people from different backgrounds. And like I said, it's interesting generation that we're living in where I think partly we as parents are at fault for the ways our children are becoming who they're becoming. And if you ask me why, I think the reason being because we are also striving on a constant basis to work, and to always get more and to have fancy cars and all that. And sometimes by accident, the children are going to pick up a message that is what is important in life. So by accident, we parents also are the ones who are to blame for that thought process. Any other questions?
What's the worst advice you ever given?
What's the worst advice I have ever given?
You ever given?
Yeah. What's the worst advice I have ever received? This is actually funny. I don't know why it came up to me. And this is, I don't know, you asked me a question. I'm obviously not expecting this question, but the worst advice I was ever given was not to get married when I was ready to get married. And I want to tell you, the reason I say it's the worst advice, I'm actually very happy that I did not follow that advice. Because you see, in life, we are all going to mature and have our own path, our own goals. Everybody's here for a different mission. And when you're living life according to a time frame, and we think by 20 we get married, by 24 we're supposed to have a career, by 25 we're supposed to have a child, when there's going to be a time frame involved that we follow, and when that time frame does not match up to the standards of what others think is normal, people start to give you advice because everybody thinks you have to follow certain dates and times and things. Remember this rule, Benny, from the question you asked, and I'm sharing this with everybody. There is no such a thing that's a general time frame. When somebody will have their first child, when somebody is going to graduate college, when somebody is going to get married, there's suggested time frames, but everybody's real time frame is unique to them. So when I was getting married to Abba, I was really being told that I was obviously young. And of course, I'm not saying anybody has to do that. I was young, but I was actually told to break it off. And that's why I'm saying it was the worst advice. But thank God I did not listen. So you really have to, and you know what kept me going? Prayer. Just like you said in the beginning of this episode, that you were in Israel and you were not afraid because you knew that Hashem is with you constantly. The other piece of advice that I will share with you and all the teenagers who are watching is really, really pray. Prayer has helped me so much in life and led me in so many directions. And when I say pray, don't pray from one of these devices. We have a Siddur, we have a Tehillim, we have everything downloaded onto this. And this is not the device that we should be using to pray. We should have a little Siddur, I prefer the ones that are very, very flexible, very easy. You could put it into your, into a bag, a pocketbook, anything, a very small siddur. And you should pray from the same siddur every single day. Because when anything happens in life and you're struck with a dilemma, and you're looking to get into college, and you're looking to go into a job interview, and you're looking for guidance about anything, as soon as there's any type of doubt, and you open your siddur, and you really, really turn to God, who is the master, who is the boss, who is the manager, who is the director, and you turn to him for guidance, he's going to open a lot of doors. So I think that's a very strong suggestion, that as a teenager, when you're growing up and you're going to be faced with a lot of different dilemmas, how do you overcome them? With prayer. So Benny, how did you think about tonight's podcast so far? What are your thoughts?
Honestly, I'm enjoying it, getting to ask my own questions, back and forth, interact with the viewers. It's something that I don't mind doing against him.
Oh, he likes it. You see, maybe we're going to have Binyamin join us for future podcasts. So, it's interesting. You may be thinking to yourself, why is he on tonight's show? What's the purpose? What's the reason? So for those of you that missed the introduction earlier, Binyamin is joining me today. He's my oldest child. He blessed me to become a mother. He's on tonight's show. I was inspired to have this episode with him because of the situation that's going on in Israel. And I thought to myself, it's so proper with the timing to bring a guest on who just came back from Israel, that was there for the last year, that was in the center of, war's time. And I thought to myself, he's an appropriate guest to come here and to shed some light into how he was not afraid to be there, for those of you that missed the beginning. The second reason of why I brought Binyamin here is because I'm going, a part of me as a mother really wanted him to come out of that uncomfortable zone and to really show that he can do something that may be a little bit nerve-wracking, that may be a little bit more challenging, that may be a little bit scary. It's not easy to go live. You are not prepared. This is not scripted. There's no edits and hold on, let's do this again. It's straight programming. For those of you that have tried it would know it's challenging. So I really wanted to challenge Binyamin today and see how he does. And I think he's doing wonderfully, and he is really making me proud. So I urge, and I also give you advice to those who are watching, have your children not necessarily go on social media. This is what I'm doing because I'm a social media person, but have your children do something that's out of their comfort zone. Because when they do something that's out of their comfort zone, it really instills a level of confidence inside of them. And it's not the confidence like they're big shots, not that type of confidence. Confidence of, I did it. It was nerve-wracking, but nothing happened to me. I'm okay. Oh, I can do something again. I can do something even more challenging. For example, what can you have your children do? When I was younger and I was growing up, one of the reasons why I started to believe in the ability to speak next to an audience is because my grandfather, may he rest in peace, used to come to my house every Shabbat for dinner. And he loved to tell stories. Binyamin, do you remember my grandfather, Michael?
Yeah, I was very young though, more or less.
Yeah, you were young. And he would love to share stories. And he would sit at the Shabbat table and he would share stories with me about David HaMelech, Shlomo HaMelech, about his time in the war. And he used to show me the gunshot wounds that used to be on his feet and how he was saved.
That I remember, yeah.
Right. And not only would he be the one to talk, but on Shabbat he would task me, do you have any stories to share with me? And here I was, 7, 8, 9 years old. And I decided, listen, my grandfather wants me to say a story. Why not? I used to get myself books. I love to read. I had a lot of books. I would read the story, and then I would stand up on the Shabbat, table, stand up on a chair, and I would start to speak. Now, I don't think I was a perfect speaker. I was a little girl. But the one thing that helped me tremendously was that both my father, my grandfather, my mother, they never interrupted me. They never used to say to me, oh, okay, come on, speed it up. It's taking too long, or make me feel like it's boring. They would literally listen to me say the story. And after I was done, they would give me such a wow, it was great, that was amazing. And that gave me a sense of, oh, I can do this again. So same thing with the ones who are watching. Think to yourself, what can you do with your teenagers, with your young children, that's going to help them overcome their fear, that's going to help them instill a certain level of confidence? Choose something. If you see that your child is good in art, have them draw that piece of art for you and hang it up somewhere. Show them that that picture is so pretty that it's worth being on a wall somewhere. Even if you don't think it's the gorgeous thing, make it gorgeous. If that child is good at speaking, give them the ability to speak at the Shabbat table. When you're going to allow the child to go out of that comfort zone and to see that I do have what it takes, you're really instilling a level of confidence that's going to be so priceless and so necessary for when the child is going to grow up. We're going to wrap up right now. Let me just see if we have any comments. It's a little far from me. Hold on. Let me bring it a little closer. Okay, let's see if we have any comments. I don't think there were that many. I know that there was a comment in the beginning, but it went all the way to the back. But I remember somebody thought that you were my brother. So no, this isn't, thank you for the compliment, but no, this is not my brother. This is my oldest son. Let's see here. Очень интересная тема. И приятно было слушать полезные советы молодежи. Спасибо большое, Рошель. He said that this was a very interesting topic, and he thinks that it's very important for the younger generation to hear today's podcast. Anything else you want to say, Binyamin, before we wrap up? Oh, look who's watching. Babosh is watching also now.
How are you, Babosh? Question.
Now, any comment? Anything you want to add before we go? What did you think about tonight's podcast overall?
That my mom was right. I was able to come out of my comfort zone. You know, this is not something I usually do, but that I had the ability to do it and to come out of my comfort zone. And I'm very thankful for Hashem, for my mom, to allow me, and for the viewers for allowing me to have this opportunity to speak out what's in my mind and to answer the questions my mom is asking.
Great. So I have two questions that just came up. The first question is, how old are you, Benny?
I'm 18.
Good. Perfect. And the second one, Olga, I love the question. She asked, hold on. Is your husband in approval of everything you are doing? And my husband's actually sitting right here watching. But Zalman, are you in approval of everything that I am doing? He's very, I don't get it. You know, when it comes to Facebook, he gets so shy. It's almost like in real life, I'm the one who's really shy. Like if you go to a party or somewhere, I'll be sitting like a little mouse somewhere in the corner and I don't budge. It's almost like I'm very like, oh my God, people are here. And then when it comes to him in a party, he's like the entertainment, the talk of town, the one doing everything. But then when it comes to being on social media, he gets so quiet. I'm like, what happened here? Why are roles changing? So I will answer. Binyamin, is Abba in approval of everything that I'm doing?
Yes, my father was very excited when he found out that I had this opportunity, and he actually said that he couldn't wait to see this live, and I'm making him very proud by doing this.
What about everything else that I'm doing? As far as on social media and all the events?
He's 100% for everything my mother does.
Great, thank you so much. Yes, my husband is actually, to be completely honest, there are many times that I don't want to be on social media or want to continue doing what I'm doing, not because I don't want to, but because the Yetzer Hara really kicks in. What's the point? Why are we doing this? Maybe I shouldn't do it. It's tiring. It's exhausting. So it happens to be, for behind the scenes, my husband is actually the one who is encouraging me, pushing me, motivating me, reminding me, and saying, Hashem did not give you the gift for yourself. You were doing it because you wanted to do it for God. So you have to continue doing it because people need it. So yes, I'm blessed, thank God, that my husband is in support. Let's see. It's so nice to see your oldest son. Hi, Binyamin. Great interaction. This is Sigi. I don't know if you remember her. She's my friend. Hi, Sigi. It's been a long time. She actually moved to Florida a few years ago, so you may not have. You probably don't know her, but we were friends growing up. Let's see. So Grandma writes, we're so proud of you, Benny. Thank you.
Thank you, Safta.
Eddie Yakubo.
Takoi slatki, someone wrote. Handsome son.
Thank you.
I feel like we have so much talent in the community, but most people are sitting dormant. That's right, Olga. I agree. And that's the reason why I brought my son. To be completely honest, he was shocked when I gave him the idea and I said, you know, I really think you should do a live with me. Wait till you hear the next few comments. When I told him, let's do a live with me, he was shocked. But Olga, to your point, I do find that my son has, you know, the ability to speak and, you know, to really inspire, especially when he does like lectures on the table. So I said to myself, you know what? I really think I want to give him that challenge and see, can he push himself out of the box and go on social media? And Benny, you passed the test. Amazing.
Thank you.
Tamara Fuzailov, my son will be going to Israel for the year as well. Do you think it is still safe for him to go?
Let's first hear it from an adult perspective.
So I'll tell you this, Tamara. It's always good to ask a rabbi. I did ask when I brought my son home for the time that he was home. You know, after Israel, when the war started, he came home temporarily. Then I brought him back. But I did ask for the time that I brought him home. I asked the rabbi, what should I do? And the answer I got was, bring your son home. And then there were other, you know, family members who were in Israel too. And they asked their rabbi, what should we do? And their rabbi said, keep your son in Israel. So I found the rabbi that I went to said, bring your son home. And I brought him home. And then I brought him back when it was time for me to feel more comfortable sending him back. So I really, you know, I cannot tell you, is it safe or not? Because as a mother, you know, it's hard for us to let our children go. But I will tell you that yes, Israel is the safest place on earth. Despite everything, it will still be the safest place on earth. And all of us actually here, we actually have to strive to want to one day be there because that is the safest place to be. But I would still ask a rabbi that question. Is he ready for marriage? Eddie, you are too funny. Is he ready for marriage? He's young. He's not ready yet. But, you know, when the time comes, I'm actually very for getting kids married early. That's just my mentality. I am one of those mothers. When the kids are ready, let's go. I believe in that strongly. Zoya Pilosova, you're a very wise, inspirational, and motivational speaker. Thank you very much. As always, thank you for that. Thank you, Milana. This is very special. Not that many teenagers would go on with their mother. You should be very proud. I am very proud of him, Liana. I agree. Thank you, Benny. I was so shocked that he agreed to do this. It's not easy to say yes. But yeah, it is something very shocking. Not a lot of teenagers would do that. I agree.
It's a good milestone, you know, to know that I was able to do something like this. See,
and you feel good about it. That's great. We need more people like you to inspire. Keep doing what you're doing for the people and for the community. Thank you so much, Nelly. I really appreciate that very much. Great kid. Shustri. Thank you, Jusha. That's very nice of you. Let's see. If they find their soulmate early, it's a blessing. And yes, I am pro early marriage. Exactly, Olga. It could be that I'm very biased because I started very early. So, I'm just leading by my own example. And then there are people that are going to think that we have 10 heads. Like, how can you say that? What's the rush? So yes, if the kids are ready, some people will say financial stability. Some people will say maturity. Maturity is definitely important. That's like the key factor, maturity. If you're not mature, you can be 35, you're not ready. Financial stability is also important, but who's to say that you're not going to lose your job or something is not going to happen? We have to definitely have a game plan. We can't go into things blindly. But at the end of the day, we rely on the one above.
100%.
Okay, let's see. He's lucky to have parents like you. He takes after his mother and father. Eddie, you're so nice. Thank you so much. That's very nice of you. Okay. Olga, you got married at 17. That's nice. So did I. I think we have something in common. Oh, Eddie, you were married at 17 and a half for a guy. That's very shocking. Wow. I thought only girls do that. I got married when I was 17 and a half and didn't have $1 in my name. And today I can say blessing comes from a woman. Wow. This is a smart man talking. I like that, Eddie. This is actually, we got to get you back to another show, Eddie. We got to get you back. We had one episode with Eddie. By the way, go on my YouTube page. On the Let's Talk show with me, Avi, Esther, Eddie Yakubov was a guest there, and he actually spoke about his financial struggles and how he was struggling and how Hashem came through. I highly encourage, and by the way, the introduction to that show was amazing with Eddie and his mask. I don't want to give it away too much, but that was a really, really amazing show. I strongly encourage you to watch. And Eddie, if you're ready, let's do it again. Edward Maestro, молодец твой отец. That's very funny. Hi, Eddie. Maestro's watching also. By the way, if you need a DJ, here's a shout out. Contact Edward Maestro. He is amazing for all your DJ needs. Definitely reach out to him. He's really, really, really good. So that wraps up tonight. I really, truly enjoyed, and I want to thank all of you who made it so interactive with all your comments. It's almost like, Benny, at the end of every show, you know what the hardest part of getting off is?
Saying goodbye.
You know why? Because there are so many amazing people who are interacting, who are commenting, who are like so involved, and you start to have this real big family. Like, I actually feel that my Facebook friends, who I've never even met many of them, but we became a family. And it's amazing to see that even though social media can be definitely something very destructive, it can be very destructive. I'm trying not to laugh. I'll read that next comment. We can also use it for good. And what we do when we interact and we build a community and we inspire others, we're really using what can be so detrimental for something good. Eddie, if I had a daughter for him, I wish I had a daughter for him. He's such a good kid.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's really nice. I'm sure he's blushing and he's so happy. This is probably, he's really happy with this decision. I'm sure, Benny, right? This is beautiful. So many compliments.
It's a good feeling.
It's a good feeling. Yes. Thank you all for this. Yes, Marina, he grew a lot. Marina's from Briarwood. I don't know if you know her, but she's watching and she said you grew very much.
Thank you.
Thank you all very much. If you found this episode to be helpful, please share it with others. As always, if there's anything else you would like to share, please comment. I am sure Benny is going to be looking at all the comments and reading them, and it's going to be making his day. Have a good night, and thank you for watching. Bye-bye.
Thank you guys. Have a good night.